Okay, sisters, I'm gonna take a deep breath. Trying to get on was not easy, but I'm glad I'm on, and I probably should have left my computer where it was. So I really want to thank Vicki for this opportunity just to share with you a little bit about the importance of cultural education. I do have a guiding scripture. Let me pull it up here, working from my PowerPoint, that I really wanted to start with. Matthew 22, verse 39, which is, I'm sure, familiar to all of us. The right one here. Okay. Yes. All right. So I'm going to start at verse 36. Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law? And he said to him, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. Verse 39. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. So when I was thinking about cultural education and why it's important, and when I think about kids and culture, and I'll explain this a little bit more, I think it's important that our children grow up learning about other people, learning about people who look like them and people who do not look like them. And that's part of loving your neighbor, right? Getting to know people, not being afraid of people, not having a fear of, being around people that look a little different or may have an accent or whatever it may be. So I think it's important when we think about loving our neighbor as ourselves, we have to actually, get to know our neighbors. And our neighbor is definitely not just the person that lives next door. I know that you all already know that, but our neighbors are anyone that we come in contact with. I'm really going to have to situate this iPad because I cannot hold it the whole time. I'm sorry, Vicki, give me a second.
That's okay.
Okay. Let me just go with that. Okay, so that's the scripture that I wanted to start off with. Really, I wanted to talk about kids and culture and to give you a little bit of background information about, I call it KCC for short, kids and culture in short. And I guess my journey into cultural education and how it became important to me and my family. When my youngest, I have two boys. I have a 12-year-old and I have a 15-year-old. When my 15-year-old was about 2 years old, like most moms, I mean, I didn't have him thinking that I was going to homeschool him at all. Like, I thought I had him and I was thinking, okay, when it's time for him to go back to, to start school, then I'm going to get my me time back. But then I started researching the schools in our area, and I had visited several of the schools already, and I was not pleased. I was not pleased at all with what I saw. And so I started researching homeschooling, and I started coming in contact with members of the church who were home educating their children. And at the same time, I was looking for programs and opportunities for my children, and I was a little disappointed with the offerings that I saw in the DC area. There are lots of offerings, lots of camps and, lots of things, but I really wanted something that would help them grow in terms of things that I may not have expertise in, or I may not have particular knowledge in. And I really wanted them to be exposed to other cultures and countries and people and to learn about them. And so I actually started doing the legal research. I'm an attorney by training. I'm admitted to practice in Maryland and DC. I'm not practicing currently, but I keep my bars active there. And I did practice for a few years at a firm in DC, and then left that practice and started a practice from home in preparation to start our family, because my husband and I had already, decided I was going to stay home. If I wanted to work from home, that would be fine. And so during that time period, I started researching like camps in the DC area and was disappointed. So I sent out an email to a homeschool group of moms, and I said, hey, is anyone interested in starting our own camp? We can do this. I've done all the legal research. We can do this. And about 8 to 10 moms answered the call, and we started meeting once a week. We had one meeting in my home where everyone had little ones. So we had teenagers down in the basement, watching our little ones. And then we were upstairs, or it might have been vice versa, but the moms were talking. So we had our initial planning meeting. And then after our little ones went to bed, like around this time, after 9 o'clock, we would hop on these almost weekly or, every other week conference calls to plan this thing out. And so my vision for Kids and Culture was really, it started because of my Caleb, who was 2 or 3 at the time. I really wanted to create a safe environment for him, but I wanted him to learn about people and countries and cultures that I may not have knowledge about. And then I also wanted to incorporate some other cultural things like African drumming and chess. I wanted to keep the academic portion there. And so the group of moms, we came together, and within 6 to 8 months, Kids and Culture Camp was born on the campus of Howard University, which is my alma mater. And we had about 75 campers our first year. And when I say it was a labor of love, it was truly a labor of love. I mean, moms volunteered their time. If a mom had an expertise in foreign language or in science or in art, that's what they focused on. And their kids attended the camp in exchange, for their work. So it really started off as a cooperative effort. And within a couple years of that, I was able to actually start paying the moms and having independent contractors. And then the independent contractors grew into having employees. And so generally now for our in-person programming, we have about a staff of about 40 people, which I think is amazing. And Kids and Culture started in 2010. So we've been at this for a while. But I'm just thankful for the moms, and being a Christian, it was very important to me, number one, that I hand select the teachers that teach at Kids and Culture, that I'm able to keep out the things that I don't think our children should be exposed to, that as parents, we make the decision whether we want our children to be exposed to certain things. So I was very, very sensitive about that. And I do have other Christians that work with me, for on Kids and Culture Camp. I don't know if any of you know Jania Otey or Letitia Williams, but they both are members of the church. So that's kind of the journey of how Kids and Culture started, and just the importance of cultural education. I mean, what I see from summer to summer, it really it warms my heart. And I have some pictures I wanted to show you. But one of the pictures, it's a picture of 4 boys, and they're of different ethnic groups, different nationalities, and they're all at camp, and it's just this beautiful picture of them. And to me, that is the embodiment, like that is the story of Kids and Culture. What I enjoy most is seeing the parents and the children come together and celebrate the cultures that the kids are studying. So once a week, or every week, we study a different culture or country. And the kids learn about art, history, geography, notable landmarks, people. I did have to make a decision early on, and maybe it was a few years into it, how to handle dealing with religion, because the camp, it's not a Christian camp. It's not a Church of Christ sponsored camp. It's open to anyone, who wants to attend. Of course, they fill out an application and all of that. And we have teachers that also come from different backgrounds. And so, again, just being cautious and careful. I didn't want any of my teachers that aren't, we're not members of the church. I didn't want them teaching my child or anybody else's child what their religious views were. And so we have a rule at camp that teachers know, as they're studying the cultures in the countries, it's perfectly fine for them to say or to mention, a particular country is 20% Christians or, 80% Muslim, but they don't get into a lot of detail about religion. And the same with politics. They don't get into details about politics. Now, one of the things that I'm very excited about is because over the years, I've developed strong relationships with many of the parents at Kids and Culture. They've allowed their kids, at the end of the camp day, to jump in the car with me and go to VBS, and to attend some other church events. And we actually had one teacher who taught with us who was converted. She did become a Christian. So that's been a blessing, and it's opened up opportunities for our own kids. Even though the teachers don't talk directly about religion, our children, members of the church who attend, they're able to talk to other children about their faith and what they're learning and share the gospel with them. So those have been true blessings for sure. Now, I guess there are a few things I want to touch on. Kids and culture has been my main avenue for cultural studies with my children, and some say like I took it to a whole nother level by creating a business and starting this huge program that's impacted over 1,000 families and children in several different states. And now with COVID, I mean we're reaching people internationally, which is really, really great. And I'll go into some of our programs later. But I wanted to share some practical things with you that you can do at home, and incorporate into your own home education studies. So some very, very simple things, such as cultural cooking. And of course, since I couldn't get on, I was having issues, I didn't bring my cookbook down here. But we have published the Kids and Culture Camp Cookbook. So part of the camp, the kids learn how to make a traditional dish from whatever country we're studying. So if we study Ghana, they learn, how to make a traditional Ghanaian dish, or Senegal or Australia. And that has truly been one of the highlights for the camp for sure. So that's something easy that you can definitely do at home. If you're doing a unit study, I'm not really big on unit studies, but if you're doing a unit study on a particular area or whatever it may be, you can easily incorporate a dish from a different country. You can visit restaurants, try different ethnic foods that you perhaps haven't tried before. And then how can you get the cookbook? Good question. Okay. I will drop the link. It's our website. My website is kidsandculture.com. Someone just asked a question. kidsandculture.com/cookbook or /book, but it's on our website. There's a menu on the right, and we are sold out of the hard copies. So at this point, all I have right now are the PDF downloads, which I think are $9. Very vivid, very colorful. The kids love it. And it's not just a cookbook. We actually go into details about the history of the country. So there's the dish, there's the recipe, and then there's a little blurb about the history behind the dish itself. And then there are lots of pictures of the kids. So you get to see the kids from the camp, and the recipes. Most of the kids like them, of course. Kids aren't going to love every single thing they try. And all of the dishes that we use at Kids and Culture, they're all plant-based vegan dishes. So we don't incorporate meat, although most of the dishes were traditionally made with meat. You can easily put them in there. But at camp itself, we just have been a vegan friendly camp. Of course, when kids bring their lunches, they can bring whatever as long as they don't have nuts. So that's the cookbook, and maybe I'll be able to grab it or bring it up somehow. But anyway, so definitely through cooking. The other area I want to touch on is your own family history, which I think is so, so important. And I think that that's probably an area that we neglect. Actually diving into your own family history, where were your great grandparents from? Where were their parents from? My husband is really, really good about that. Like he's doing all the research about the family history, and he's actually discovered that one of his family members was a Tuskegee Airman, and another family member was a Harlem Globetrotter. So those are kind of cool, fun facts. And then with my family, a few years ago, we did the DNA. The DNA, we got the DNA from one of my uncles. And so we found out some information, about our family, and Burkina Faso, that's where, part of our family is from. And so we got maps of Africa and, locating the different countries where we had roots, where our ancestors were from. So I think that's one area that's overlooked, and you can definitely incorporate that easily into your education with your child. And then just reach out to those that are around you in your neighborhood, or even members of the church that are, of a different nationality, and talk with them, invite them over. I know everything's kind of limited right now due to COVID, but talk with them about their history and where they were born and their upbringing. They may have been born right here in the United States, but they may have history elsewhere, which would be interesting. And so, Now that I live in Alabama, we've been here for several years. It's very different than Washington, D.C. In Washington, D.C., my children had friends of, a whole bunch of different ethnicities. And it just was natural. Like that's just what happened. But in Alabama, it's very black and white. And so that's been, a little bit of a challenge for us in terms of making sure that they have friends from different backgrounds. But I would say that you definitely need to be intentional about what you teach your children and enrolling them in programs and giving them opportunities to be able to meet people that don't look like them, meet people that, are from different areas that have an accent or whatever it may be. You have to really, really be intentional. Because when I talk to sisters in Christ, and I've talked to a lot of sisters in Christ and also just homeschoolers in general, particularly about cultural education, some may live in remote areas and so it's difficult, or they've come to the realization that, my children don't come in contact with anybody that doesn't look like me unless I'm very intentional about it. The schools they go to, maybe the restaurants we go to, where we're shopping, it just doesn't happen. And so if you want to incorporate cultural education into your homeschooling, you have to find ways to be intentional about that. And there definitely are studies that have shown that when cultural education is incorporated into a child's study, that it improves their overall outlook. It improves their almost like their worldview. It improves their comfort level, with people. And I think all of those things are very, very important. My philosophy about learning in general from the beginning when I homeschooled my kids is that I wanted them to love the process of learning. If they love the process of learning, then that just opens up the door for everything else. I mean, of course, my 12-year-old doesn't love math right now, but that's another thing. But loving the process of learning is just very important. And when your children when they see that learning about different cultures and countries can be fun, right? I believe in making things fun, then that will allow them or might spark them later on to want to dig deeper into some other areas. And so also in other ways to incorporate cultural education, look for different competitions. Like one of my really, really good friends, Julie Miller, told me about a competition. It was a Black History speech competition that was going on in the Montgomery area, and I wasn't aware of it. And she said, oh, you need to sign your boys up. And her children have participated, I think, for 2 years before that. And so we did. And that gave them an opportunity to research someone in history, become that person. Christian became my 12-year-old, I think he was maybe 10 at the time, became Elijah McCoy. And, he did for those who know about classical conversations, we did classical conversations for several years. So he did his Faces of History paper on Elijah McCoy. And my grandfather had made the boys a truck, like a train. He made them a train. So he was able to use that wooden train, as a prop when he talked about Elijah McCoy. So you have to be intentional, but you have to give them direction. And with our reports, like for classical conversations or other things, we definitely make sure our children learn about people that are not talked about generally in the traditional textbooks. And so that's where you have to go beyond, when we open up the book and what we see, you got to dig a little deeper. I wanted to be able to share a reading list with you, like a list of books. And Vicki, I'll just send that to you because I usually get my book list from Jania. I'm in my basement right now, which used to be our homeschool room. My husband decided that he was going to turn it into his office. So if you can imagine, 10 years of homeschooling stuff was moved out over there to the other room, and it's just piled up. And he moved his stuff in. So all of my books are everywhere. Once the boys reached a certain age, we stopped having them come down to the basement for school because I wasn't down there with them to monitor everything, the electronics and all of that. And I think it's very important that our kids use electronics in an open space. So I don't have my books to show you right now because I don't know where anything is, just to be.
Okay, I will love to share the list just whenever.
Okay. Well, I wanted to stop and see if there were any questions, and I will definitely share with you the offerings that Kids and Culture has right now. But I'm going to take this. Can I take this blue background down is bothering me since it's not centered right. But if anyone has any questions, please let me know.
Okay, she's going to take a pit stop here. So if you have something in mind to ask, now's the time before she starts another segment.
Let me switch to gallery view. Everybody's being quiet.
No, I promise, this is the quietest it's ever been.
Okay. Well,
I guess
if you have any questions, I mean,
Hey,
definitely.
Amber's talking. Amber, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a question. So I know you focus on like kids and culture, and we actually we use my father's world curriculum, and we started exploring countries and cultures for this year. And so we've been going through, they have a lot of like what you're talking about, like studying the different groups of people and the different things. And I've really liked it. But we're seeing a lot in the news, like almost like the purposeful diversity, like having to have a token person in each thing, if that makes sense. Maybe I'm the only one seeing that, but how do we handle those kinds of conversations in comparison with how we're truly supposed to love our neighbors and, no matter what they look like and things like that?
So when you say a token, maybe elaborate a little bit more. Are you saying in your curriculum, for instance, there may be a mention of one African American or one Native American, or what? Can you give me a little more?
Not so much in our textbook, but in like just in politics in general, like when we're flipping through the news or we're seeing it on TV. It's been a big thing, especially lately with what's been going on. And it's been kind of hard because he's had questions, about that kind of stuff. And, how do you handle that in your kind of groups?
Okay. I don't watch TV a whole lot, to be honest. I am aware of some things that are going on, but I don't really pay attention to the news and stuff too much. I probably should. Are you asking in terms of how we handle it at Kids and Culture or how we handle it in my family?
Maybe a little both, like attitudes and things like that towards it. Because I've noticed even in some Christian areas, sometimes the attitude towards movements like that are not always good. But I want my children to understand that we do love everyone, around us.
Well, I guess for starters, with our family, my husband is very, very good about talking to the boys about current issues, but not necessarily when a particular issue is happening at that time. Like, this is a conversation that we have with them ongoing. Every night we have family Devo during dinner time. And during our Devo, we'll talk about, different issues, maybe difficult issues that are going on politically or, riots or whatever it may be. And so we have those discussions with them. I mean, if you have little ones, obviously you're not going to introduce, heavy, heavy things to them. But there are injustices, there are evils, there are negative things and bad things that go on in the world. And that's why it's important that we focus on the Lord first and foremost. And so, I mean, from a young child's perspective, that's how I would approach it. We know that there are evil things going on and there are evil people and things that we see, people not treating each other right or, saying things, but we have to keep our focus on the Lord. And so that's, I guess, for the younger ones. Now, for the older ones at Kids and Culture itself, we really, really focus more on the celebration of the cultures. We do, the older kids, like the 8 to 12-year-olds, we do talk a little bit about some colonization. We really focus more on pre-colonization. And so the kids learn a little bit about the oppression, but our focus is more, it's more on the celebration. But in terms of thinking about it spiritually, I think you have those conversations, with your children by pointing out what's wrong with what you're seeing. And if they're watching something, even ask them, what do you see or what do you think is going on? And guide that discussion by by asking those questions, and then just going back to what the Bible says. The Lord God wants us to, love everyone. There may be sins that are going on. He never loves the sin, but he definitely loves those that have participated in sin or are sinning, and it's an opportunity for us to pray for them. I remember, one time one of my boys was upset about something that they saw, and I said, well, you know what we need to do? We need to stop and pray, that their heart will change, that their minds will change. So I hope I'm answering your question. I don't know if I am directly, and if I'm not, please let me know.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to look at it. Like I said, we're just kind of seeing it a lot lately. We don't watch a ton of TV, but every once in a while, like my husband will be on YouTube and he'll be flipping through, and we'll see something about like them wanting to tear statues down, and those are from events that we just talked about in history. And it's kind of hard for me to know exactly how I should address those in a loving and kind way.
Okay, that's a good example. Yeah, that's a good example. And it's probably a hard issue. And I guess you can start with studying about that person, whoever the statue is, that people are trying to tear down or want to tear down. Let's study who that person was, and let's study, what that person stood for, so that you can understand it on both sides. And I think that's part of it. I was talking to a friend today. Part of us loving and getting to know each other and understanding each other, understanding the perspectives that we're seeing things through. And so by studying who that person was, okay, what good did he do or she do? What not so good? What evil did they do? So the people that are advocating for this statue coming down, they're focusing on the evil and don't believe that that person should be celebrated in that way. And then there's the historical view. Well, historically, this person did this and that was positive, even though he, participated in these ills. So I think maybe having a balanced approach to it, by researching it would be helpful.
Okay, that's a really good idea. I hadn't thought about doing that. I mean,
And make it fun. I don't know how old your children are, but you could make it fun. And I always try to find ways to make research projects or whatever, definitely fun, particularly if they're a little younger. I saw a question in the chat, but I don't know how to get to it now because I'm on my iPad.
Okay, sorry, I was on mute. All right, we do have another question. Do you find that having the kids research ethnicity and family history has proven to be problematic with adoptive kids? I had a homeschool mom bring this to my attention when I was wanting to assign something similar at our co-op. Have you had any experience with that?
I haven't had any experience with that with adoptive kids. No, I haven't had an experience. So I kind of hesitate to respond, but I think it is important, no matter whether you're adopted or not, to know your history, to know as much as you can about your family. And some of it's going to be painful and some of it's going to hurt. One of my cousins just made contact with her father, whom she'd never met, and she's in her 30s. And she was happy, but at the same time, it was hurtful. So I think you have to be careful, of course, depending on the age of the children, whether they can handle it. But I think it's important, and I'm thinking about particularly if there are, and I'm using these terms white and black loosely, y'all, okay? If there are white members of the church who have adopted children of color, Black children, it's important that those children know that they didn't come from, that their roots and history is not just about slavery. Because if we focus on the traditional textbooks, that's pretty much what you're going to see, with a little sprinkle of Dr. King and Rosa Parks, and a couple of other people. So I think it is important that they have a sense of pride of who they are and understanding their heritage, which will help them as they move forward in life, having that identity. Obviously, we want them to have their identity in Christ first, but I think that's part of their self-worth.
Very good.
I think Angela, I know she turned her camera off, but I think she had her hand up.
Angela, do you have a question?
I did. Sorry, I was typing.
Okay.
So my question was for early learners. Could you kind of go into detail what the depths of what kids and culture would be for them, like a K-3 kind of age range?
Yeah, and I was actually going to take you guys behind the scenes and show you one of our newest programs, which is Culture Quest. And I'll send that link to you because it's on our website, but it's not active. So people don't know about it. And I want to give you an opportunity to see this program. So behind the scenes for Kids and Culture divides up the children into ages 3 to 5, 6 to 7, and 8 to 9, and 10 to 12 for our in-person camp. So that's how we divide the kids up. For our online programs, it's 3 to 5, 6 to 7s, and 8 to 12-year-olds are together. So all of those age groups, the children are going to learn about the art, history, geography, notable landmarks, people, traditional dress, traditional foods. They're going to learn about, some really important historical aspects. They're going to learn all of that in 1 week of camp. For a 3 to 5-year-old, they learn about the colors of the flag. They learn about indigenous animals. They learn about important people, like maybe 1 to 3 important people. And so our teachers present the lessons. We have phenomenal teachers, by the way. And I just don't say that, like I'm serious. Our teachers, I was texting with one of them before this call, and she just wrote another children's book, which I'll be featuring this week. I mean, that's just what our teachers do. They're just phenomenal. But the lessons are usually 30 to 45-minute cultural lessons. And so in a day of Kids and Culture Camp, the kids would have a 30 to 45-minute cultural lesson, followed by what we call a special activity, like a specialty. And we bring in specialty instructors. So that's where the chess instruction comes in, the African drumming, even the art. Sometimes we've had an artist come in, even though Kids and Culture is very, very art infused. So the kids are doing all kinds of hands-on projects. Yoga, we have storytelling with Baba C, who is like the best griot ever on the planet. And so the kids will have 2 to 3 cultural lessons a day, and then those specialty activities worked in addition to the cultural cooking. And they have quiet time. The little ones have, this for in-person, the little ones have nap time. Everyone has quiet time across the board. And then for after camp, then we have capoeira, which is a Brazilian martial art. We have the African drumming. The kids have water play too. And again, being a member of the church, I was very, very concerned about what water play was going to look like. It's hot during the summer. We wanted the children to be able to play. We don't take them to the pool, no swimsuits. I tell the parents to have their children wear rash guards and board shorts. And if they come, for water play with a swimsuit, we cover them up. Some parents haven't liked that over the years, but it's my camp. So
that's right.
That's what it is. And they love the water play. We call it Water Wednesday. And then on Fridays, we have a big festival, which we call Festival Friday. So all the classes come together in an auditorium. And this is the part that I love. And parents come too. And each class makes a presentation about an aspect of the culture they learned about. So the older ones may, reenact something. The younger ones may do a chant, in a different language, or, they learned how to count to 10 in the tree language of Ghana. So it's fun. And we have those videos actually on our YouTube page on Kids and Culture Camp. Those videos are on there so you can see the Festival Friday highlights. Now for the online portion, obviously we had to modify that. And I was very concerned about the children being online too long. And I am in school right now, y'all. That's all I can say. In these 3-hour and 8-hour seminar days, being online, staring at Zoom, and your professor forgets to, take a break. So our camps online are from 9:15 to 12. From 9:15 to 10, they have a cultural lesson, and they're going to learn about one of those aspects that we talked about: the art, history, geography, notable landmarks, people. And then they're going to have a 15-minute snack break. And then after that snack break, they're going to have a specialty, which is going to be the chess. For online, it's chess, yoga, or art. And then after that, they have another 15-minute break, and then they have another cultural lesson. And then that's the end of the day. We finish by lunchtime so they can, go and do whatever else they need to do. And on that Friday for our spring break camp, it runs Monday through Friday, but our summer camp runs Monday through Thursday. So on that last day, we bring all the kids together in one Zoom room, and we have the cultural cooking class, because it's too difficult for our cultural cooking instructor to do all these different classes for each age group. And she's a member of the church, Letitia Williams, and she does a phenomenal job. And so we send out the recipes ahead of time so the parents can get all the ingredients. And I really just loved when we did the online portion. I loved last summer watching the parents cook alongside their children. That just made my heart just smile, like huge, just to see that. And then we also send out what we call either a family resource packet or a global activities guide. And so with that, you're going to have a overview, which all homeschool moms want, an overview of what your child's going to learn during the week, the lesson objectives, the learning objectives. You're also going to have any handouts that go along with the lessons, a map of the country. For the little ones, it may be, trace the letter G. G is for Ghana, and then some extension activities to do at home as a family. So that's in a packet, a PDF that we email out to all of the participants for the online camp. The program that I wanted to be able to show you, and maybe we'll have a part 2, Vicki, is our latest self-paced course, which is called Culture Quest. Now with Culture Quest, what I'm most excited about is, because our online programs are based on East Coast time, if you're on the West Coast or you're someplace else, it might not work because your child's not going to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to be online for camp. So we've developed a self-paced portion where our teachers have pre-recorded lessons, same format. They're actually like 25 to 45-minute lessons. There are 3 lessons per country. They're interactive assessment questions where you actually have, for kids that aren't readers yet, the 3 to 5s, they push a button and the question is read out to them. There's a graphic that goes with it. So a question might be, what is the capital of Ghana? And then they see the 3 different choices, and they can hear the audio and also see the graphic cards. And we have that global activities guide that goes with it. And we also have Culture Quest Kids Club. And so every couple months, the kids that are enrolled in Culture Quest jump on Zoom. We had our first one this month. They jump on Zoom and they share something that they learned that they really, really liked about the culture or country that we studied. And so the first country that we studied was Uganda. And we had a sweet little camper who loved learning about the clothing, the traditional dress of the men and women in Uganda. And so that program I'm really excited about. I haven't done a whole lot of, pubbing it yet, but we're on our 3rd country. The teachers are in the creation of the 3rd country. And the good thing is you can actually incorporate that very easily into your homeschool setup. Whatever curriculum you're using, it can supplement it, or it can stand on its own, particularly for the little ones. It's very detailed lesson objectives. We lay out a schedule of what to do, Monday through Friday. It's day 1, day 2, day 3. And then it's an online portal that you log into, and you would have access to all the lessons for all the age groups. Even if your child is 5, they would have access to the lessons for the 8 to 12-year-olds and vice versa. So it's pretty amazing. And
you've really branched out since I remember talking to you all about your plans. I mean, that's great.
Yeah, it's I'm excited about it. I mean, it's a lot of work, but I think in the long run, children are already benefiting from it. And I see, even more being able to benefit. And the kids, they're excited about it. They're excited about learning. And that's just one of the main things. We want to make sure that the learning is fun and they're enjoying it. And that's just one of the pillars, of Kids and Culture Camp. We want children to love learning, to embrace culture, and to live mindfully. And that whole mindful piece, that's where the yoga and eating healthy and, making those connections like, okay, we eat corn. Well, they eat corn too in this country, but they fix it a little bit differently. Or, we eat black eyed peas and there's this, black eyed pea patties from another country. So just making those connections and then seeing how you can just better enhance yourself in terms of staying healthy and exercising and having fun, learning martial arts, capoeira, the Brazilian martial art. And our capoeira instructor is fabulous. He's actually from Brazil, which is wonderful. And he speaks Portuguese, so the kids get a little bit of that too.
Wow.
Any other questions?
Not a question, Jania, but this is Marcia. I'm just
Hey, Marcia.
saying that my daughter Damaris loves the Culture Quest, so I was just giving you that plug.
Oh, thank you. And her daughter is so sweet.
Her
And
daughter is a fantastic student.
Yes, she is. She definitely is. And I just love having her as part of Culture Class. So I'm really excited because we just had a family enroll from China, which I think is fabulous. So at some point, hopefully all of the kids that are enrolled will be able to interact with each other. The time difference is pretty, significant. So we'll have to try to arrange a time, but they can be pen pals or email pals or however the parents want to monitor that. But I think that's great. So we're making these connections all over the world, which I'm excited about.
And so I do have a question. So right now, I commented to you earlier when we were talking about speaking that I wished I had known about this, before last year. And now my kids are much, much older. But have you all ever thought about doing a teen camp?
Yes. How old are your children?
Well, she's already 15.
Okay.
And he's 17. That's painful. So
Okay.
he's almost out.
Well, one thing that we have in place now is we have what we call our CITs, our counselors in training. And so several of the children that have outgrown or graduated from Kids and Culture come back as counselors in training. So, and they don't necessarily, they didn't necessarily have to have attended Kids and Culture Camp, but that's just kind of the majority of the kids that have participated as CITs. We have entertained it a little bit. It's a huge endeavor, what we're doing already.
Right.
And the in-person camp, yes, the teen camp, okay. Just looking at one of it's a huge endeavor. So I know this summer we're looking at some of the teams coming on board as counselors, even online, to help with the teachers. And when they do that, they learn about the cultures and countries too, because the teachers need help, assisting with different things online. So that's one way. I will give that some more thought. And I did not mention, we actually have homeschool classes that we started as well this year. And so we have 2 classes going on. One is all about Botswana, and that one is for pre-K to kindergarten or 1st grade. And then we have another class that's going on right now called Cultural Connections, and that's for really 1st and 2nd graders. And so the teachers for those classes, the Cultural Connections, she's actually focusing on the United States. And she's delving into the many different cultures that we have here in the United States, which is it's really awesome. I wish I could sit in on all of her classes, but I pop in just to make sure everything's going okay. And you can drop into those classes. So if you wanted to try those, if they fit with your time zone, again, it's on our website. Actually on the home page, if you scroll down, all of the offerings, there are buttons for all the offerings. You can click homeschool classes, but you can drop in. There are 4 weeks left, 3 or 4 weeks left in those classes, and it's $20 to drop in if you just want to see, how the classes run, to get a feel for some of our teachers. That would be awesome too. But I will give some more thought to the teen aspects. Jania is teaching another class, Writing Through Culture. And so the kids are learning, basic stylistic writing and structures. And for those who are familiar with classical conversations, Jania is she's a Challenge A, I believe, instructor. And so she's incorporating the lost tools of writing into that course. And so my 12-year-old is taking that writing course right now. And so we plan to expand our homeschool offerings during the school year, the regular school year, and plan for the fall. these three classes we added on a little late in the game. It's kind of hard to assess what people's needs are with
Right.
everything that's going on with COVID, but I will consider the teen classes.
No pressure. It was just a question.
You're about the third or fourth person that's asked that.
Well, my daughter is especially interested. She has on her own through COVID found these postcard groups and card groups for kids and adults to send postcards all over the world. And so she literally gets every day, she gets like 3 or 4 pieces of mail, like in the last couple of weeks. And they come from all over. And then she registers them on this site that they were received. And she's very interested in all that. So
Nice.
came to my mind. Okay, are there any other questions or comments?
I have a question.
Hold on. Amber says, can you drop a link for that? I was just gonna ask about, oh, okay. I will have to ask Grace, Amber. I will write down that you want to know, and because I don't know the answer off the top of my head. I don't have it in front of me. But I wrote down your name. Okay, next question.
I have a question. If you have, for like the camp, I was looking at the site when you were talking, and I noticed that the times were for like the same time, like the 3 to 5-year-old class time was the same time as like the 8 to 9-year-old class. I have a boy who will be 8 and a girl who will be 5. So can they sit on like the same class with each other, or how would that work with it being at the same time?
So parents have generally just had them on different devices. One might use an iPad where another one is on a computer. And if that doesn't work for you, they can definitely, if you wanted them to be in one class together, we can accommodate that. Last summer, we had, if the children were in the same age group, then obviously they were participating in that same class, and there was just one price. So you weren't paying twice for the two different children if they were in the same age group. But if you wanted to do that, that would be perfectly fine. If you're able to accommodate them being on 2 different devices, I would recommend that, just because your younger one is going to get a whole lot out of, interacting with her peers and it being taught, or his peers being taught on their level. But either way would be fine.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? It may be, let me see.
Okay, we have 11 people that are on live right now. And so I'm going to write their names on a slip of paper. Are you still okay doing that? You wanted me to draw a name?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Absolutely.
Okay.
So we have let me try to pull up the dates. So April 12th through I think the 16th is the spring break camp. And then the summer camp, I don't have the date in front of me. I can't access my stuff, but I think it's June. Uh-oh.
Okay, I definitely think we need to have a part 2, because we just owe you the do-over on all your visuals.
I'm so sorry.
No, I'm just saying we need to give you more time.
Yeah, and I need to run and get my power cord because I wasn't prepared to have to use my iPad. I'm on 10%. So yes, draw a name. I'm stepping away for just a minute. I'll be right back.
Okay. So if you all forgot what the email said or didn't understand, Jania has agreed to have me draw a name, and that person can get a free week of online camp. We're just hoping that will spark your interest and you'll enjoy it, and you can tell your friends about it. And yeah, so who doesn't love free? Or if you wanted, she did also offer a free cookbook in lieu of the free camp. But correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that most homeschool moms would prefer the free camp and they'd buy their own cookbook. So I'm just predicting what you wanted, and that's what I said. So you guys can choose. All right, I have 3 more names to write down, and then I will draw.
Get some power going.
Okay, and I'm not putting my name in here, just so you know.
All right, got my power going.
And all
So
these,
we're giving away a camp tonight, and there was something I was going to say. Oh, if you want to be on KCC's mailing list, the email list, maybe Vicky, can they drop their email addresses in the chat, and can we export that, or what's best?
it would be best. I'm just gonna leave my phone number in the chat, and it would be best for me if they just texted to me.
Okay. If you want to be added to the list, we do have specials, and I send those out to the parents that are on our list. So, you might get a coupon for like 20% off. Or last summer we had a free camp day for parents that weren't sure about the online learning and the camp format, so they were able to experience that. And I also do some spotlights, like we highlight different kids and culture camp campers and their accomplishments and things like that. So
Okay.
if you want to join the mailing list, the email list, just drop Vicky your email address and I can certainly add you to that. So yes, we're doing a drawing for a camp giveaway.
Oh, and also if your email is very weird and I can't tell it's you, like I'm saying my email does not have my name in it anywhere. So if it's like mine, put your name beside your email.
That makes sense.
The funny story, I used to have just like a bellsouth.net email, and then I got a new phone and he's like, I need a Gmail for you. I'm like, I don't want a Gmail. And so I just made up this thing that doesn't have my name in it, never thinking that it would now be my primary email. So people don't know it's me when I email. All right, I have mixed them up. I feel like Bob Barker or something. I'm showing my age. All right. And the winner is April Smith, the young mom who was asking about sharing a class.
Ah, okay. Congratulations, April. So Vicky, if you can send me her email address, then April, I'll be in contact with you to find out what works best for your family.
Okay, she said, thank you, woohoo.
You're welcome, yay. I'm excited.
Oh, Shelly, I missed it. I missed Shelly's drum roll. Oops. Okay. Email.
The other thing I was gonna say, and I meant to mention this, if parents could be intentional also about the visuals and just careful with your visuals that you use for Bible study, that's something that I'm very careful about and cautious. And honestly, I don't use a lot of visuals of people because to me they're very difficult to find. And so just consider that, when you're teaching Bible class, you're preparing Bible class materials. And even when I do like a ladies' day, and even the PowerPoint that I couldn't show you today, and I'm just using pictures of, people today, ordinary people or whatever, I try to be inclusive in terms of making sure that it's diverse. So you're not just going to see a PowerPoint of just all people, all African Americans or whatever. So I just try to be inclusive, and that has an impact on children, whether you think about it or not, but it definitely does. At our congregation, there's a wall. I don't care, they call it the something hall. I can't remember, but it's basically where all kids' classes are, and it's painted. And I guess this has been there for years and years and years. But everyone that's depicted in those paintings have blonde hair and blue eyes, pretty much. And this is, it's supposed to be a depiction of Bible times. And so my kids noticed it. And when kids constantly see images and things of people that don't look anything like them and may not be really accurate to what was going on during that particular time, it can have an impact.
I don't know. Have you ever utilized freebibleimages.org?
I haven't. I need to write that down.
Okay, I actually have found some decent, all types of skin tones and hair colors and stuff, there are some cartoon ones on there, but then there are also some reenactment pictures that you could print off to make like a flip chart.
Okay.
And they are not all white and blonde haired pictures.
Okay.
So I found that, and I had shared that with someone before. So
Okay. freebibleimages.org. I wrote it down. Thank you.
and they also, besides just having things to print off to make like a flip chart or a poster, they have PowerPoints. So you can just and it's all free. So you could automatically just use the PowerPoint of Elijah with, or whatever story it is, onto your computer.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
And then it looks like we have one last question.
Okay.
What is some of your favorite go-to materials in your classes or Bible times for learning about different cultures and peoples? So
Ooh.
maybe would that be on the list that you're going to share with us, the book list?
Yeah, I'll definitely share the book list. Just off the top of my head, we did use a curriculum last school year. It was called Oh Freedom, and it's through Woke, WOKE homeschooling. And it was really focused on African American history. And so we used that curriculum. It was very literature rich, and most of those books, like I said, I don't know where they are right now. I did like that curriculum in particular. I haven't really bought a particular curriculum for cultural education aside from that one. That was probably pretty much the first one. Yes, that's it, wokehomeschooling.com. That was probably pretty much the first one. Like, we've had flashcards, like Black History flashcards, but whatever we were studying, we would find ways to incorporate learning about different people and cultures and countries. And because I have 10 years, well, now going on 11, almost 12 years of curriculum that we've written through Kids and Culture, because we write all of our own curriculum. I mean, that's what we've used. I mean, that's what I've relied on mostly. And again, my husband has like a bunch of books that the boys will read. He takes them to the library at Faulkner, where he works, and they pick out different books. So I don't have a particular set curriculum. They're out there, I'm sure. I think with anything, you have to be careful, just like with science, the evolution and all that stuff that creeps in. I mean, you have to be careful with what you're reading and what you allow your children to read. But I will definitely get the book list to Vicki and send that out.
And I'm just going to write these names down. Well, no, I already have the names. I've got the names. I will email these people specifically, and then probably just post it to the Facebook group. But I want to make sure these 11 souls get it first.
Okay, sounds good. I just wanted to say one more thing, I guess, in closing. If anybody has any questions about cultural education in general, if I can help you in any way, please let me know. You can email me at info, @kidsandculture.com. And I don't know if you can drop that in the chat, because I don't know how to do it on my iPad. I feel so not techie right now. I actually know how to use this stuff, but not on the iPad. But info@kidsandculture.com. And I'll be happy to, to answer any questions you have, or to try to find some resources for you. But I guess that's it. We have a lot going on, a lot of really, really good programs. And the children that attend KCC, like I said, it's open to the public. So you have children that are homeschooled, you have public children attend public school, private school. It's kind of a mix of everybody, which I think is great. And it's good. It's been good for my children who've been homeschooled, because when we get together for the in-person camp, that's like their school experience, right? They, they're faced with things, they hear things that they haven't heard before, and then they repeat them. And then I ask them where you got that from, and then we have the discussion. So I think it's been good, and even though I'm on site, I'm not in their classrooms the whole time. I'm checking on them, but it also allows them kind of some freedom. And then they have to make decisions based upon the godly principles and scripture and things that we've been teaching them without me standing over their shoulder. So it's a good mix. And I think that's been a blessing too. I just feel like I did not do what I was supposed to do, Vicki.
No, we have thoroughly enjoyed it. Y'all give her a shout out or something. But I know what it's like to be jostled and to be totally thrown off guard, especially at the last minute. And I can sympathize with that. So, like I said, I'm open for finding a date that works for you for March. We could, if you have time to find your stuff, we could discuss some of the books that you've used, or I can just wait to hear from the girls on what they would like to hear more about.
Okay.
That's
That
up to
sounds
you and your schedule.
okay. I'll look at it. Never take 2 classes in grad school when you're home with your kids trying to homeschool and have a husband and trying to feed him and he's working on his PhD and working full time and then you have your own little business on the side. Don't do it.
Oh man. And for
Well, I
those,
didn't know that something like your camp existed, so now I'm excited to go look into it. I think it's
Hey,
awesome.
yep.
Thank you, Amber.
So thank you for your effort for our kids.
You're quite welcome. I mean, I enjoy organizing. Organizing comes very, very easy to me and it's very natural. And I just enjoy watching our children come alive because they're excited about what they're learning. And I think it's just important with everything we have going on in the world today. I think it's important that we continue to show our children the importance of learning about other people. And, you know, with all the different things that have gone on, and I know different companies, you know, have come out and they make a stand about this, or, you know, we stand for this, or we stand for that, or we don't. And I actually didn't feel a need to do that with Kids and Culture because that's what we stood for all along. We've stood for making sure that our children love and appreciate people from all over. And I think that's where it starts. I mean, with that, the whole, you know, hatred and not liking people or treating people poorly because they look different or sound different. I mean, we kind of just dispel that. We get rid of that by starting the cultural education at an early age. And I'm just thankful for that. And I'm thankful for all the moms that work with us. So it's truly a loving environment. If I didn't say that, Kids and Culture is a loving environment. Most of our teachers are moms. We do have teachers that teach professionally in the public schools also, but everyone is just very loving and caring, and I'm thankful. That's the culture of Kids and Culture, and I'm thankful for that. So I appreciate your time, and again, I apologize for the tech issues.
Okay. And for those of you who may be around next year to come to Kentucky, she will be speaking at the Coach Retreat for 2022. So that's going to be really exciting. And I'm sure we will weave in some of these concepts to benefit more people there.
Yeah, and homeschooling in general too, Vicki. I'm sorry. If anybody has any questions about homeschooling or if I can help, please let me know. I mean, I have a wealth of knowledge about that. My oldest is 15. He's taking dual enrollment classes right now. He'll have, I think, 21 credit hours at the end of this school year. I have my favorite curricula that I love, and then I have ones that I would probably never ever use again, and juggling, you know, just being a mom and running business and all that good stuff. So,
and working on a degree. I mean, she's all that, ladies. She's all that.
y'all pray for me. Please.